guys, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of Herbs and Homestead. We wanted to kind of answer a couple of questions that have been put to us several times about why we moved, what we're doing here, what brought us to Idaho, why didn't we stay in Texas and just do the same thing in Texas? What other questions?
Well, and just mostly we've had a lot of people ask what our story is, and we both think that we have a story to share.
Absolutely. So first off, I'll introduce myself. I'm Adam, and this is my wife, Gretchen, and we are the power couple behind Herbs and Homestead. This is all new and an experiment for us. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to watch us stumble across our words and fumble to find our feet, and hopefully learn some things along the way as we learn how to have a homestead in northern Idaho. But like we said, we wanted to answer a few questions that we've been asked several times, and we thought maybe y'all would be interested in hearing the answers to. So we wanted to kind of tell our story from sort of the start of our self-sufficiency / homesteading adventures and desires through to getting here to North Idaho, right?
Yeah, to get the whole story, you're going to need a couple years.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will forget things, and we will fill in gaps and tell different stories at different times, whatever. But
in 2018, we decided to start a hobby garden. And it literally was just a hobby. We didn't water it very well. A lot of things died because we lived in Texas. But we did get a few things, and we were really proud of like the inch-sized strawberries that we made. So that kind of starts our experience with some of this stuff. We just kind of dabbled in gardening. And then in 2019, we started praying about God's direction.
Right.
The next steps, we had just had our last daughter and kind of felt like we were done having kids. We had been in the house that we were in for 3.5 years.
Yeah, which it was just a suburban house on a standard size lot. So there wasn't a lot of land, there wasn't a lot of room for a garden. You couldn't have animals there. I mean, besides like a dog or a cat, because the city regulations wouldn't let you. So we needed to, we started with the hobby garden there, and we started trying to grow our own food there. And that kind of expanded and got our feet wet, got us interested. And then in 2019, we started praying about every year around Thanksgiving, I guess, we start discussing and praying about and having a lot of conversations around what are our goals for the next year, right? So in 2019, we started talking and praying about what 2020 was going to look like for us, what we wanted to do. Like she said, we just had our last child. Maybe. And anyway, we had our currently last child, and we had been in the house we were in for a couple years. We realized it was too small for us. We realized that we wanted more land and to be more self-sufficient and to have the ability to grow more food and have more animals like chickens and rabbits and stuff like that. So in 2019, we were praying about our goals.
Praying for God's directions, what the next steps were now that we felt our family was complete. And so when it got to the end of that year, me and Adam had both been praying for God to give us a direction, show us, get us on the same page. If there's a word that you want us to focus on this next year, let's figure out what that was. And so one day Adam calls me and he's like, so I've been thinking about that word. And I was like, oh, have you? Well, I have too. And he's like, do you have the word? And I was like, yeah. And so he's like, okay, so you say yours and then I'll say mine. And so I was like, okay. So I feel like God's been saying vision is the word we need to focus on this year. And he was like,
that's crazy.
Me too.
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing that I had.
So we felt like that was a huge step in like, okay, this is what we need to be focusing on, is God's vision for our family, for our talents and what we need to be doing. And so that's kind of how we started 2020. And part of that vision included getting Adam home more. He was currently working about an hour away from home in Dallas, and we knew that he had to be spending more time with our family if we were going to really focus on the vision that we felt God had for our family. And so we started praying for just one day a week where he could work from home, just to be present.
Our two youngest at the time were both under 2 years old.
Yes.
So it was a lot of work, a lot of stress and diaper changing and crying and all that kind of stuff. And being an hour away, it meant I was gone 2 extra hours, which, I often would work not just an 8-hour day, but more like a 10-hour day. So it was really more of a 12-hour day. So I was gone a lot. And so we really wanted to try and figure out a way for me to be home more. And we thought, hey, we'll shoot small for just one day a week working from home.
So then, as you all know, 2020 hit and the world exploded. Really, COVID kind of really shifted things for us. And all of a sudden, he wasn't just working from home one day a week. He was fully work from home.
Yeah, in fact, we had to, because the house was already too small for us, we had to pretty drastically make some accommodations for me being home all the time. So we ended up building a little office for me in the garage, a temporary office in the garage where I could work. And because of the pandemic, schools closed, so our oldest daughter was home more. So we switched to homeschooling.
Which is also something we had been praying about going back to.
Right.
Again, just didn't really know the right time and felt like this was sort of put in our lap.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with everything else that happened in 2020, we saw the grocery stores being depleted, all just the unrest in big cities and stuff. It really made us reevaluate where we were going with things. And
it became more apparent. The little town that we lived in, the Walmart completely ran out. Like the grocery stores completely ran out of toilet paper, meat, grains, flour, rice, all that stuff. It was completely out. And it was out for almost 3 weeks. Like it would come back and be gone. They couldn't
within hours.
Yeah, they couldn't get the shelves stocked before everybody would buy it. I'm not exactly sure why there was such a run on things, but it became obvious to us that the supply chain in our area potentially couldn't support the population. And so if something big like this happened, or if this kept going for a long time, we didn't know what was going to be a thing. And since we had already been growing our own food on a hobby level, we thought, well, what if
let's ramp it up?
Yeah, what if we try to make this a thing? A fully supporting, or as close to self-sustaining lifestyle as we could. So we built some extra gardens and we started gardening where we were. But as the year went on, it became obvious this pandemic was going to last a while and shutdowns were going to happen. We were incredibly blessed that my job did not waver at all. And I was able to work from home. So we were able to be together for a lot of this and manage some of the stress together. But after 6 months, something like that?
Yeah, about 3 months.
Of me being home full time, we really started thinking like, hey, if we're home, well, that was the thing. They changed the policy at work, and we were potentially going to be permanently work from home.
They sold his office building. He did not have a desk. He didn't have an office or anything to go back to.
they leased some of the space out. They revamped at least some of the space out. So I didn't have an office anymore. And so in light of that, we started thinking, well, that means we could work from just about anywhere. And so we started looking. We felt like we both had been in Texas pretty much our whole lives. And we both, for a couple of reasons, don't like the summers in Texas. One, it's just ungodly hot. Two, our water bill and utility bill, electric bill in Texas, growing a garden and trying to keep the house cool,
just through the roof.
Was through the roof. I mean, there was one month where we paid almost $800 in water and electric during the summer. And we just felt, we had both known for a long time, we like the mountains, we like colder climates. So we wanted to move somewhere north. So we started looking.
And we knew we wanted some place that had a similar economy, a similar ideology as Texas. I mean, honestly, the weather was really the only thing that compelled us to leave. We loved Texas, I think, in every other sense, especially the fact that both our families were there. We
for sure
loved that time being around our family. It was really great.
Yeah, it was very life-giving.
Yeah.
To be so close to family. And so none of our decisions to start looking had anything to do with trying to get away from anything other than the heat.
Yeah.
And we were still trying to follow God's, whatever this vision for our future was. And so we started looking, and we looked.
I felt like we were very open to a lot of different places, pretty much wherever we felt like God was leading us. So we looked at Tennessee, we looked at New York, we looked at, we looked at New York because Adam has family up there. We thought that might be an easy transition. We looked at Arkansas. My family has land there. We looked at Wyoming, Montana, and then finally we came upon Idaho. And I had been here before for family reunions and stuff, and just knew it was gorgeous landscape. So Adam had never been.
Yeah, I had never considered Idaho, ever. I mean, in my mind, it was, the next door neighbor to Portland and Seattle and a lot of politics and things that I just didn't have any interest in. So it was not on my radar at all. We kind of settled on the idea that Idaho might be an option, and she had been here before, remembered that it was a beautiful place. And so for some reason, we prayed about it, and I just felt like we needed to go take a trip. We needed to go up and see Idaho, and
just very out of character for him to just be like, let's go.
Yeah, I'm pretty methodical, pretty planned out. It used to be a lot more spur of the moment, but having 3 daughters will bring
temper a man.
There's a lot of emotions and a lot of things, so you have to become
the zen,
the focus, the emotional calm in the storm, and which I'm not. But anyway, so we decided to take a trip to Idaho, and we had already, because we were trying to get into the homesteading thing and the self-sufficiency thing, we were on several forums and several different chat groups and boards and things like that to learn different things about gardening, about animals, about managing land and things like that. And so when we started looking for places to buy, I put on these chat boards that we were looking at these states, and Idaho was one of them, and several people reached out to us and said, hey, if you're interested, we have land up here that we might be willing to sell or whatever. So we ended up making the planning to come up here to North Idaho, and we let some people know that we had met, and they said, great, you can come look at our land and we'll talk. And we got up here, and first and foremost, being in Texas most of my life, they say everything's better in Texas, everything's bigger in Texas, everything, Texas has an ego.
We love Texas.
We love Texas, but there is nothing in Texas even remotely as beautiful as North Idaho. Now, don't tell anybody.
Don't spread that
we
around.
Don't want that. We don't want people to know that, but it is a fantastic place. And one of the biggest things that I noticed as a difference is the amount of water they have here. Texas doesn't have very many natural lakes, and there's very little water there. And it is so lush and green up here, and there are natural lakes all over. And so I was just immediately like, this is the most beautiful place. I can't believe people live here. You know, never mind, we're talking about maybe
living here ourselves.
Here. That's crazy. And then, you know, kind of that of reality set in when we started looking at the prices of buying land. So we decided to go ahead and meet with this guy, look at some land that he had for sale. And Adam had set all this up. I was mostly following his lead on this one. And I remember pulling up to the property behind this guy and thinking, oh my God, what are we doing here? We are so out of our league. We're not buying property right now. We have so much student loan debt we still have to pay down. We can't afford this. What are we doing? We have to leave. We have to just leave right now. We are wasting this guy's time. We shouldn't be doing this. This is terrible. This is false pretenses. We need to leave. I mean, just this overwhelming dread and fear came over me. And thankfully, I was able to push it aside, mainly because I didn't want to embarrass Adam like a crazy wife over here. She told me that she was, you know, having these feelings, and I told her, I was like, we're not wasting his time. I already told him.
Yeah.
Like, he already knows. We're not gonna buy right now. We're talking a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever away. We're just looking. He knew that, so there was no false expectations. I kind of tried to.
But anyways, I genuinely feel like that was the enemy putting that voice of doubt into my head to fight against something that was, you know, ultimately supposed to happen. So we came back from our trip just over the moon, excited about Idaho, but
majorly depressed.
We didn't know what to do because, like I said, we still had a lot of student loan debt. We weren't in a place to buy land, much less land that was 2,000 miles away that we probably would have never seen before purchasing. And then we're going to build a house sight unseen. Like, it just all felt very impossible. And so we kind of just went back to the drawing board and we were like, okay, God, we felt like you were calling us up there. We checked everything out. It seemed great. We met some people that we felt like we really connected with. Where do we go from here? And so a couple weeks go by.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was really...
I think we were both really depressed.
I was really bummed because I had felt like God was calling us up there. And so we, you know, but we followed through. We tried to obey the whole way. And then we got up here and just realized, wow, this is way outside of our reach right now. And a few weeks, we got back, kind of went back to normal life, and a few weeks went by. And I mean, we didn't have any waiting for phone calls back or anything like that. It was just an exploratory trip, and the results were, sorry, Charlie, you know, you don't get to today. And we, after a couple weeks, one of the guys that we had met with actually emailed me and said, hey, you know, I know you guys said you're not ready to buy right now, but what if there was a place that you could rent, like a piece of property with a house on it,
a few acres,
ready to be homesteaded, that you could rent while you're trying to find your place up here. And I mean,
we even threw around that idea when we were up there, and one of the locals we met said, oh, you're never going to find a place for rent. They go so fast, and you have to know somebody if you're going to get a place to rent. And we were like, well, shoot.
Yeah, and the rental prices, well, first off, you wouldn't find a place to rent with land.
Yeah.
And secondly, the rental prices for something for a family of 5 was just insane. There's no way. I mean, it was, you know, almost double what we were paying in Texas. So there was no way that was going to work for us either. Anyway, he came back and said, what if we could find something for you to rent? And I told Gretchen, and we were like, well, that could potentially work if it
checks all the boxes.
So like first and foremost, really can't be any more than we're paying right now. Otherwise we won't be able to save money to buy a house. We won't be able to continue to pay off debt, which we're trying to snowball and get paid off. So, we could eat the cost of moving maybe if it checked these other boxes. And so we went back to him with that. It's like, okay, we're interested. We'll entertain the idea, but here's the boxes it's got to check. And he was like, great, that's great. Let's, let me talk to this guy I know, which his name is John. We met him, and, let's see what I can work out. And so we hung up the phone basically and got together and were like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And, there's going to be a lot of expenses moving across country. Mm-hmm. There's going to be, this is still a huge thing. We need to save a bunch of money. We need to, it needs to meet certain other conditions. And we basically, prayed about it, put all that stuff out there before God. And the crazy thing was, a few weeks later, when they called us back, they offered us exactly what we had said we would need to make it work. That's just one of maybe 5 to 7 different things that happened that were just an answer to prayer, an answer to prayer, an answer to prayer, an answer to prayer, to where it was so obvious that God was pulling us.
He was paving the way.
Just honestly, in some ways, almost reluctantly, because we were going, whoa, there's no way this could happen. There's no way. It's too much money, or it's too much time, or the logistics, or we haven't seen the place, or, whatever.
We were scared of leaving family.
And there was quite a bit of hesitation and resistance on the family. How wise is this decision? You're taking a young family from Texas to North Idaho, and you don't know anything about North Idaho, and you don't know
anyone up there.
Yeah, you don't have any support system up there, anything like that. So, but God just answered each prayer along the way.
And even along the way, getting to the move day, we knew we were going to have to raise a ton of money to get us up there. And I remember thinking, okay, well, if God wants us to go, we're going to get the money. And we pulled together more money in such a short amount of time. There's no way to explain it other than God did it, because
side work came out of the blue for me.
We've never had that much spare money to just go, okay, there you go.
Yeah, all in one chunk. We had been, it was
a windfall for sure.
Definitely a God thing. And another example of where God, even in this process, there was a big job that I was supposed to do. Multiple $1,000s was going to be made doing this job, and the whole thing fell apart. And I was honestly, at that point in time, when that fell apart, I was like, okay, we can't go.
Yeah. I think we both felt that way.
Yeah, that was going to be the anchor that let us get there, the big chunk of money that let us do all this stuff. There's no way. And then out of the blue, God provided the money. And it's just amazing how God provided in every step of the way. So all that said, seeing all the answers to prayers, we just felt like we had no choice really but to obey and to follow him and to see where he was taking us.
Yep.
And so we packed everything up and we moved across country. And
here we are.
It's been pretty great so far, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been able to convert a shed that was on the property into a greenhouse, and we're starting seeds.
And much to our daughter's delight, we have gotten chicks already. They're ready for us to get rabbits, chinchillas, a goat, 15 hogs, and
don't forget the 20 cats that our daughter wants.
Yeah, and 3 wolves.
And 3 wolves, yeah. So it's been great. Obviously we've only been here for a short time, and there's still some adjustments and some learning curve, and you know, we Texans are learning what winter is really like.
Even though apparently this is a mild winter.
Yeah, but you know, we're here, and at this point we're following through with the things that we know we wanted to do, and we're waiting for God to show us why we're here, what the next step is, why we're here. So
here for the ride at this point.
And I think, you know, to answer one of the questions that we had, why not just do this in Texas, right? And like we said, for one thing, both of us just really don't like the summers. We're hot-natured people, and it's so hot there. Another reason is, like we said, the cost of land in Texas. I mean, you could find land in Texas, but if you're gonna find any decent land, it's gonna be really expensive. Yeah. And you're still gonna have the issues of water. You know, you're either gonna have to drill a well or find water or build a stock tank or, you know, stuff like that. It's, I mean, it's a pretty harsh environment
to try and keep plants alive.
Especially during the heat of the summer. And anywhere that you're gonna find land for a reasonable price, it's gonna be really hard country, because a lot of the good land has been bought up. There's been a massive migration of people from several different states to Texas. I think California is one of the big ones, but they're buying up land. The costs are going up, things are going up. You know, I think the economy of Texas has been really strong for a long time. And with the whole coronavirus thing hitting and so much lockdown and so much economic sort of stagnation in a lot of other states, a lot of people moved to Texas to find work, to be able to provide for their families and whatnot. So it's, you know, that was another reason, you know, heat, the cost of things to try and do what we wanted as far as land and stuff goes, the lack of water availability. And ultimately, I think it just came down to, we felt like God was calling us up here.
He opened up all the doors for us to come here.
Yeah. And
I was actually really pushing hard for Arkansas at one point, so
yeah,
that didn't happen.
So, you know, we credit any and all success that we've had in getting up here and getting started here to God. And I think we're just waiting to see what he's going to do with us in this new season.
Yep. So, if you have any questions beyond that, just let us know.
Yeah, put them in the comments. We'd be happy to answer. And yeah, thanks for watching this video. Anything else you want to say?